So have you guys further studied on this? Any questions? No questions?
Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, pick up the 3 files.
Yes, I think there are 2. Right? Is it 3?
There's a third one, a U.S. banking monopoly game, definitions of device, and then how you were fucked by the corporations.
Oh, I didn't get the 3rd. I'll get that one now.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
That's a good one. That got posted about a half hour ago.
Okay. Okay.
The other 2 have been out for I think a day. It's really good to try to check early in the day before the call. So if there is something out there, you can review it before the call.
Yeah, I got the first 2 earlier, just about an hour ago or a couple hours ago, and I read the devices in the game. Okay. I didn't get the 3rd.
Yeah, that's the game.
This is Pat, and I'm on the line now.
Hi, Patrick.
Hi, Pat.
How many people you got on the line?
Let me check. It's probably at least 12. 16.
Yeah. Must have scared a bunch of people off from last Wednesday by not coming on.
Well, we ended up, I think, having 39 on the call the last Wednesday.
Well, this last document that I sent to Tom, okay, is a simple little document. It's got some word definitions in it, and basically it tells you exactly, and you do this every day, guaranteed, okay? You just didn't know that you were doing this in the process. Doing a manumission. In other words, you take a shit. So you need to read those definitions, and basically you'll understand what I'm talking about here. Nobody ever knew how this clean hands doctrine and the dirty hands doctrine came about. Well, basically, the very last item on that page tells you exactly where the clean hands doctrine came from. An old Buddhist saying, no matter how much you wash a turd, it will not come clean. You have to get the turd out of your hands and over to the trustees, and then they have to flush it down the system and liquidate it, just like in a regular system. A turd gets liquidated either by a septic tank or whatever. Anybody have any questions?
I did. I have to pull up that Emancipation document though to ask them
About the players in the game, okay? There's a little more to that, okay? See, these beneficial owners, okay, the corporations, they're the ones that are blocking our funds as being the beneficial owners. Until we get rid of our executor, who is basically the turd that we're holding, until we do a manumission or a woman mission and shit that damn turd out, it's going to continue to cause us all sorts of pains. Because it's just like a turd stuck crossways. So you didn't know how simple this stuff was. Basically, turd came about, originated from England. An unpleasant or contemptible person or thing. We're operating under pretty much all English law system here, and basically we're operating in a penal colony, which is a remake of the East India Company that basically the Declaration of Independence got rid of. But they snuck in the back door as a United States copyright corporation, and then basically over time it came about in full force as a religious organization, a charitable trust organization, constructive charitable trust, religious organization, and basically, what are the religions? Well, being a Democrat or a Republican. Being a Democrat is like you're in the Roman Catholic Church. Being a Republican is like being in the Southern Baptist Church. The Republicans and Democrats have their sets of beliefs, and that's all that a religion is a set of beliefs. And they get you hoodwinked by when you sign up with a voter registration card, you have to designate what party or what religion you belong to. And then everybody runs around thinking that the Democrats and the Republicans basically are passing valid laws. They're not.
No.
They're damn religious laws over a penal colony. And they treat you as a penal, as a peon. And then all these tickets and everything, all these charges you get are penal charges put out there by the beneficial owners. The fraudulent owners, because they do not have legal title. And they got you under an ingenious, conceived, and skillfully made up device. A trick or a fraud perpetrated upon you. And the trick was that basically they fucked you and you conceived a person inside of you known as a trust executor. You have to get rid of him. You are not the trust executor. Think about it. What the hell is it? When you shit something out, excrement or whatever?
Excrement.
Excrement, okay? That's what the executor is. You've got to get rid of him. You turn him over to the trustees. Now you can wash your hands and you will have clean hands. You are the beneficiary. You were the grantor of the trust to begin with, the initiator, the issuer of the credits to fund these trusts, these constructive charitable trusts out here that they made. And then they basically claim that you owe the taxes because they claim you are the beneficiary, but they've never given you the benefits because the beneficial owners are basically blocking the funds from being released. You now have to turn over your executor over to the trustees, to the public trustee and to the judicial trustee. The public trustee is basically the U.S. trustee, and the judicial trustee is going to be the U.S. Attorney's Office. They now have to take that. They have dirty hands now. They have to basically flush the toilet to get rid of that turd. And when they do flush the toilet, they will also flush out the beneficial owners. Along with it. You've had the remedy right every day. You just didn't see where the remedy was at. All you had to do was take a shit. And there's your remedy. You feel a hell of a lot better after you've taken the shit. Nothing new under the sun. People have been shitting for years. They've also been getting fucked for years, too. Letting people take advantage of you. The FBI has a new has a document that came out in 2013, I think it was, talking about rape. Well, basically, you have been raped by these beneficial owners, by usage of beneficial devices. They are the devicee. Just like the FDIC, it's a devicee. They created a device with that $250,000 policy, assurance policy, against your checking account or savings account or whatever that they have. But then they turn around and block you from accessing the credits because you're the one that funded the credits to begin with. You put the $250,000 credits up there. But until you get rid of the executor over that checking account or savings account, just like the executor over the Social Security account, good example of it, when we got our estate EIN. What does it say on the letter that we got from the IRS? The name is all capitalized. Patrick Devine, executor. Well, that's not me. That's a fictional creation that is the executor. It's just like an ex-wife or an ex-husband. You got to get rid of them. Anything that has X in it basically means you've got to get rid of it. Shit it out.
My ball is the ball in the system.
I love these words, okay? If people can't handle talking about turds and being fucked and different things like that, basically you don't belong on this planet. Because that is a fact of life.
Hey, Patrick, on nasaranews.blogspot.com, there's an article, Santos Bonacci calls Pope onto the carpet. It says, in this video provided below to a friend of humanity, Santos Bonacci tells the Pope, Jorge Borgoglio, also known as Pope Francisco, to stop the Vatican's greed. They turned everyone into decedents and slaves to steal their energy and estate trust or main accounts. This is the reason.
Santos is wrong. Okay?
Oh, okay. Well, we did it, yeah.
The Pope has tried to tell people how to get out of the system.
Right.
This Pope is a good Pope.
That's the reason for all the wars, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, right. He's given clues like go get your baptismal certificate, go see the chaplain, like you said, to get out of jail.
Yeah, you want out of prison? Go get your baptismal certificate, but you have to get rid of your executor at the same time. Your baptismal certificate is your document that proves you are the beneficiary. Because what is the beneficiary coming in? He is coming in to have his sins or debts forgiven or set off. And then he is to get the benefits of these trusts that they're holding our credits back after we get rid of the executor. And also at the same time, when we get rid of the executor, the trustees have to go in, basically terminate all of the beneficial owners in the process. These beneficial owners are controlling this thing as a constructive charitable trust so that they can bypass paying the taxes that they owe to the de jure United States of America as tariff taxes. And then they try and get us to make the payments for them. That is how you're getting fucked by the corporations. But you can turn the table on them by taking a shit. A manumission. And that's what you do every day when you go take a shit. You do a manumission. Or basically a woman does a woman-umission. And then what do you do after you get through taking a shit? You normally wash your hands. So simple. But you had to look and find these things in the word definitions in the process. You have to be able to read between the lines.
Got to drop our slaves off at the pool.
Yes, our executor is basically our banking slave in the process. And we do a manumission. We don't do an emancipation. We emancipate ourselves away from being tied to these foreign states in the process by being a emancipation as a minor. Now, when you come of age, you can emancipate and you can choose who you want to be your guardian or your parent. And you're going to choose your own, basically, ecclesiastical court. Your Godhead is going to be my, basically, my parent from here on out. And then see, when you do this and you get rid of those trust executors, they have no lawful claim over you. You're no longer stuck in the penal colony. You get rid of all your EINs except for your foreign grantor trust EIN. What does that EIN say? Document. It says trustee. It doesn't say executor, it says trustee. Well, see, this is a different type of trust in the process. You become the trustee to draw the funds out of the trust that is your treasury trust by your birth certificate, and then you assign who you want to be the beneficiary. You can have that. You want to buy a piece of property? You basically go in and you do on the back of that certificate, but you have to have your EIN, your 98 series foreign grantor trust, or basically just foreign grantor trust EIN issued out of Philadelphia. And that's going to be a de jure bank routing number in the de jure. Then they can process the assets out of the treasury over to whoever made the conversion. That you're going to have to take that certificate of live birth with your notation on the back of the certificate of live birth of how much you're taking out and who it's being assigned to, who the beneficiary is that this is being assigned to. And you would do an endorsement, and then basically the other person should do an endorsement on it. You should go into a Article 3 court, take that in, and basically have them do the authentication of that instrument. Then the court can issue the warrant to the treasurer of the country to draw the funds out of the treasury. That's the process when you come out of a system. You can have the funds sent to you, to your son of man. But right now, you need to get rid of all these others because these beneficial owners are blocking you from accessing all of your credits that you've already withdrawn from the Treasury. So why should the Treasury allow you to draw more credits out if you've already got a whole bunch out there? And then you have to basically, to get out of the system, you have to turn this into the bankruptcy court, because everything out here, basically you say, as a last resort, go to bankruptcy court, as a last resort. No, it should say, as a first resort, go to the bankruptcy court, because that's where you will get your remedy. Nowhere else. And you have to turn over the executors. Too many people walk into court and they claim, I'm not the trustee, I'm the executor. I'm going to be the executor. I'm going to be the executrix. Well, who has to pay? The executor or the executrix. And basically what happens? You go to jail. The 98 or the foreign grantor trust person does not use these corporate IRS forms. That's what basically happened. I was getting penalized by using my 98 series EIN, foreign grantor trust person, on these corporate trust forms, IRS forms, banking forms. We can't mix and match. The two are two different entities. One is in the de jure, the other is in the de facto, or the fraudulent system. You don't make the judge the trustee. Think about it. You look at the scales that is in the Justice Department, in the courts. There's a fulcrum. The judge is the fulcrum. And then you have the two deals on the side. One is the public trustee, the other is the prosecuting attorney as the judicial trustee. You have to turn over the executor of these trusts to them. Then they will basically bring it into settlement so that the scale is balanced. And then the judge, basically at the fulcrum point, will make sure that the scale is not tipped one way or the other. Because that judge is just a administrator in the process. Also, all of these, the trustees, the prosecuting attorney, the judge, the clerk of the court, basically they're all operating under the Act of Indemnity. You read what the Act of Indemnity says in the dictionary. Act of Indemnity, a statute in aid of officers who have failed to qualify for their offices. They are not valid officers because they're operating in this de facto corporation. So they're not holding de jure offices. That's why they have to have an indemnity bond behind them. Read all the definitions that I had. I tried to highlight a bunch of key items in all those definitions. The answer is right there. And especially in this last document that I posted up here. The one that you do every day. I mean, that's all it is. You just got to take a shit. And then you'll have your relief. But you've got to get rid of those executors that basically are causing you a cross turd, causing you pain. See, the beneficiary is one who really controls the trust. He is the one that gives the orders to the trustees. But you have to get rid of the executor to make that work. They put this fraudulent person in there to basically keep you off guard. Because in most cases, in a normal trust, the trustees would be the executors. Okay, it's open for comments.
So the executor was there in the first place, and by getting our executor EIN, you were able to then cancel them out. Is that right?
We got an estate EIN.
Right.
And then basically that created an executor over that estate.
Well, people who don't have an estate EIN still have an executor, don't they?
You've got a Social Security card.
Right.
The person that's on that Social Security card is the executor of that Social Security account.
Oh, so each one has an executor. Okay.
Yes. You get a certificate of title to a vehicle. The name that goes on that certificate is the executor.
Okay.
Okay? He's a numbered person.
Got it.
See, that's what you have to get rid of, all your executors. Your driver's license, the all-capital name on the driver's license, the passport, all of these are executors. You're supposed to be the beneficiary. Stop being the executor.
Okay.
You do a manumission of those and shit them out over to the toilet, to the trustees, and then they have to get rid of them, or else they're holding them with dirty hands. And then you're going to have to come in with toilet bowl cleaner and flush the damn thing and clean out the toilet if the trustees don't do their job. In other words, you'd be taking their bonds of indemnity away from them. See how the game plays out? You can be a winner. You just need to take a good shit. And stop listening to all the bad shit that's out here. There's only one way to do it, okay? You can't shit out any other orifice than the one that you've got. Come on, people. I'm trying to be a little humorous here.
Oh, we got it.
You guys can speak up. You spoke up basically when I wasn't on the call. You can speak up while I'm on the call. Or else I'll just stop being on the call.
So we're going to use our our baptismal certificate, and shouldn't we at the same time include maybe like a power of attorney as the living man, or the person on the baptismal certificate is the power of attorney over all that other crap?
No.
No? I just was wondering.
The baptismal certificate is only to prove that you are the beneficiary.
Okay.
The birth certificate is basically there to prove that you were the grantor or the issuer of the credits to set up the trust to begin with.
Okay.
And then all other documents you have are basically devices in fraud, and you have to turn those over along with your executors over to the trustees and flush them down the toilet.
Right, and that would
But
be
you have to do this into a bankruptcy court to basically have everything brought into settlement.
Hey, Patrick.
Yes.
I know this guy, he had went to court on a traffic ticket, and he didn't want to pay the traffic ticket, so he told the court, he gave the court his driver's license and said, here, take the driver's license. And the judge asked him if he was sure if he wanted to do that. And he said, yeah. So now whenever the police run his name, is nothing in the computer. There's no record for him in the computer. Is this kind of what you're talking about? Like turn it over, give it back to him?
Yes, you turn it over to either the prosecuting attorney or you get a public defender into that court, and he becomes the public trustee. Okay? But see, there's credits on that driver's license. He did not claim the credits. He's going to have to turn around and make sure that that driver's license is listed when he takes it into bankruptcy court so that he can get the credits that basically are being held by that driver's license. See, the trustee basically is now holding those credits, and basically the beneficial owner, the state, has a blockage on those credits. They haven't been removed from the system.
So this goes back to accounting. You have to zero out those accounts, right?
Yes, the trustees have to bring it into settlement.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he did the right thing by not taking the driver's license. And see, they try and threaten, intimidate you and everything else to basically make sure that you're holding that driver's license. That executor that's on the driver's license. But he got rid of his executor. Now he's sitting in the toilet, basically stinking the damn place up because they can't flush him because you, as the beneficiary, haven't ordered the settlement. You haven't pulled the handle on the toilet.
That's interesting how a lot of us are beneficiaries, but we don't know the beneficiary responsibilities in the trust.
Right. And basically you don't know how to basically get rid of your executor. We walked into bankruptcy court, and basically we turned around and walked out of there still hanging on to our executors because we didn't release them. I should have been out of the system over 10 years ago. If I knew what I knew now, basically I would have turned all my executors over and I would have been out of the system. You wouldn't have heard from me. Because I'd probably be over on Bowie Islands having a good time. No, I wouldn't.
Where are you going?
There's so much beauty right here in continental United States of America that people haven't even ever seen. Why do you need to go somewhere else?
Patrick,
Yeah.
in the past, I've gotten EINs for some nonprofit organizations in my company. Do I have to do anything about?
You have to turn them all in.
Okay.
All.
Okay.
Because they created an executor in those processes, and they're all in the de facto government system, banking system.
I got to do that. Okay.
Yeah. You want a private corporation? You have a private corporation. You don't need an EIN for a private corporation.
Yeah, private enterprise, the way you've told us, yes.
Yeah.
And we're still going to put together our private bank to handle this, or we're using the Treasury itself?
You use your private bank as a coffee jar in the backyard. Come on, people. Think about this. Private means private.
That's true. And, you know, that's what I've seen, Patrick. It's sort of like they've done something for us that we failed to do for ourselves. But I kind of see, like, in a way, I want to start my own thing. This is where I look at my private life, because a lot of us haven't established a private life to get out of the public. You get what I'm saying? Most of us have been living a public life. So a lot of us don't even know what private looks like. What I did is I opened up the Bouvier's encyclopedia, the PDF, and I just put in a search for private and read every definition that had to do with private. This gives you a sense of what private is. But I think where I'm at, I'm kind of scared, because if I do this, what do I have to lean on if it don't go that way? That's just where I'm at right now.
I just told you what you have to lean on, okay? You basically have your birth certificate, which is a warehouse receipt that allows you to draw from the de jure treasury of the country. You turn in all, and basically you could turn around and go back into the bankruptcy court after you've turned all of your executors over to the bankruptcy court trustee. You take a box and you take all your receipts and you put them in the box and you send them to that U.S. trustee and say, hey, I want settlement for all these receipts. They will take that into the Federal Reserve Bank and draw that out against the general tariff tax fund that is held in reserve in that Federal Reserve banking system, and give you the credits on a debit card in the private. They will help you once you get in there and get rid of your executors. Because now you're standing in the de jure side. You're no longer in the public penal colony. And this penal colony is just a remake of the old East India Company that basically the Declaration of Independence got rid of. Watch that movie that came out here last year or so, Behind the Mask. About this assassin that worked for the East India Company and then broke away from it, and then basically sided with Benjamin Franklin to prevent the East India Company from blowing up the town hall where they were signing the Declaration of Independence. The East India Company was controlled by the bankers. And they set up all the penal colonies in the English Empire. And they brought it back into play sort of quietly when they set up this copyrighted 1871 United States. But they didn't put the people in to the penal colony until basically Roosevelt got everybody brought in the Social Security system and brought everybody in as a peon, living off of public foods and public handouts. You became a peon. Go through all the word definitions that I had up there. You became a pauper. Even Mark Twain tried to tell people about this. And it goes back to a story that started back in the 1500s. The Prince and the Pauper. A pauper, a poor person, an indigent person, one receiving public aid, eating the public bread. The prince, a ruler, a sovereign in a democracy, a person of eminence, a person of quality, an engaging personality. We here in America were supposed to be princes of the land because we came from the land, and that's what a mayor in America stands for, is prince. And then I stands for individual. And then can is one who has full understanding. That's what an American is. A prince, individual who has the full understanding of how the system works. We were born American citizens. We have never been naturalized away from being an American citizen. We allowed the creation of an executor by conceiving or getting fucked, impregnated with an executor that we've been carrying around. He is the one that's naturalized. So when we shit him out, we're back to where we started from. We're an American citizen. I'm trying to use words that basically everybody can sort of comprehend out here because you hear them every day.
It sure simplifies it. So we have to wrap our heads around how exactly we present this to the bankruptcy court.
Well, I gave you a good starting point by laying out who the players were.
Yes.
I'll have it a little more in detail because basically I had to figure out, hey, the foreign asset control is not the one that's blocking our funds. Who's blocking our funds from getting them released to us? The beneficial owners. The ones that are holding the false titles, the fraudulent titles. They're the ones that have basically the stoppage of all the credits coming out from your Social Security account.
Yeah, your players list gives us the narrative then of exactly what happened.
You got to know how to play the game. So you got to know the players in the game before you can play the game. Then you control the game. You control the other players in the game. And the beneficiary is basically the key player in this game. After you get rid of your executor and take a shit. Get rid of him. I mean, just like a man, basically, if he keeps hanging on to his ex-wife, basically he'll never get on with his life. You need to get rid of her. She's an ex. Get rid of her. Forget her.
Patrick.
Yes.
This is Corey. How you doing? Why did you go away from the ecclesiastical court? Why are you going this route? What changed?
Because basically everything out here right now is in bankruptcy. That's the game that we're playing, is bankruptcy.
Right, and even the church is in bankruptcy. Chapter 11, all the archdioceses are. Right. And why would you not go to them to do the divorce decree from the infant in order to make the settlement? Because they're making the settlement right now.
The bankruptcy court here in this country has control even over the churches.
Okay, all right. But
okay.
You think that you could put in your claim, though, to start it over there, though?
Yeah, we notified them that basically we're going to be doing an emancipation, and basically none of them talked back to us because they communicate with us, and basically they're going to let the cat out of the bag. The cat's out of the bag now. I've opened up the bag. The cat can get out.
Right, but I'm just saying, for the people that haven't did the communication with them, you think that it's a good place for them to start to do the communication and let them know?
No, they don't need to go there. Okay? They just need to get that baptismal certificate. Okay? That is what really gives you the power of being the beneficiary. You come in as the pro se beneficiary with that baptismal certificate. And you come in with clean hands when you get rid of that turd, that executor, over all these accounts.
Right.
Okay, you're gonna have that fucking toilet filled up. You're gonna be shitting till you basically feel total relief. Yeah, those trustees are going to have their hands full of turds.
Right, I know that because for a fact, like when I talked to you before about a case that I was doing, And when I gave back all those turds, the prosecutor response was, "I'm in trouble."
Yep. They know they're in trouble. Basically, they've got to bring it in the settlement, and that's why you should always get a public defender, because you've got to have both sides of the scales.
Right. There was a public defender.
The public defender as the public trustee, and then you've got to have the prosecuting attorney as basically the judicial trustee, so that basically the two of them can together can bring the scales into balance.
Right. Only thing I have a question is about is when I ordered the forensic audit, right? I ordered the forensic audit for the credits to be released. I seen some things change, but I don't know where they put the credits, so they must have put them in the bankruptcy court, which you must be right. They're released. Some things changed because the accountability that was showing on the computer screen I was looking at was no longer the same, right?
Yeah.
So I just didn't know where they were at.
You had to complete the rest of the process by turning the handle on the toilet and flushing as the beneficiary, flushing, having those trustees liquidate, send those turds down to the septic tank so that they could be liquidated, and you get basically the good smell and clean water down the road after it's gone through the purification and liquidation process.
Right. They also put on there that I had a certain amount of time, and I didn't understand. It was like I have a certain amount of time to file some. It was basically the judge was being slick. He was saying there's a matter in the matters of settlement you have to this date, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
it's basically your time to turn the handle on the toilet. You've got to put your beneficiary's claim in to bring that in the settlement.
Right. That's what I didn't do.
Yep, that's what we failed to do in a lot of cases. We failed to give up the turds, and basically then we failed to flush.
Yeah, when I gave up the turds, I just didn't know where to go get the credits released.
Right, and see, that's why you have the public defender. He's got to basically get those back to you. He's now your public trustee.
Well, now that I look further and I had time to investigate, the public defender was on the backside using the credits and the bond that was sitting there, and now he's in breach.
Yes. He's basically sitting there waiting for you to come in and give the rest of the order to flush the toilet.
Right. The judge was telling me that, but he couldn't tell me that in so many ways because I was doing this as I was a power attorney over someone else, and I came in and then I ordered them to release the credits, right, in 3 banking days, and everything shut down, but I seen the screen change, I seen everything change, but I don't know where the credits would disappear to.
You didn't totally give up you walked out of there still hanging on to that executor. You didn't fully get rid of him. In other words,
right.
You didn't wipe your ass.
All right.
See where I'm going with all this shit?
Yeah. I understand.
Before we learned to do emancipation or learn to do expulsion or whatever you're talking about now, we did Manumission. Yeah, we were doing the
but
deed.
See, you have to do 2 things, okay? You have to emancipate yourself from being claimed as being a ward of the state under state guardianship. Okay? That is the first step. You do your emancipation, and then you do your manumission of all of your executors in the process, and you're putting this all in as you are the beneficiary, the pro se beneficiary. Now, you make this statement as a pro se beneficiary, okay? It's going to be a affirmation, my affirmation of my self-emancipation and manumission of my bankrupt trust executors. Now, this is your affirmation in pro se as a pro se beneficiary. Now, for anybody to rebut that, they have to get rid of their bond of liability. They have to be in the de jure.
Yeah, you're 100% right. You're 100% right, because I made the statement on there. The only thing that can rebut this is an affidavit, and they jumped out of their skin.
Yep. And they have to basically, to do a rebuttal of this, they have to basically come in as the living person, not in a fictional capacity. Even the judge can't override this.
Right. The judge was sitting there with his hands folded, like he didn't have nothing to do. He just put his hands underneath his arms, and then he was just sitting there like, I don't want to have nothing to do with it. And he ordered them to basically close it down. But then they did like a shell game, which they were telling me, but they weren't telling me. You understand?
Yeah. And see, that's what we didn't see the rest of the picture, that basically the beneficial owners are the ones that are blocking this. We have to get rid of them at the same time.
I gave back the Social Security number. Do you think that was a problem, or I shouldn't have, or I should have?
Basically, you've got a whole bunch of credits sitting in the Federal Reserve Bank in an off-budget and offshore account. You need to get those claimed. You haven't turned. You've still got control over that executor. And the only way that you can do that is by taking it into bankruptcy. Like I said at the very beginning, everybody out here says as a last resort, go to bankruptcy. No, bankruptcy should have been our first resort to go to and get rid of our executors. That's how you get out of the system.
I've got the estoppel by deed signed that just initialized the court clerk in a lower superior court, but I can use that to bring in there to the bankruptcy court. I'm just guessing. I'm just, like I started it. I can include that with what you're saying, the affirmation to emancipate ourselves and the manumission of all of our executor bankrupt trusts. Executors.
We will basically do a 3-phase affirmation.
Okay.
The first phase of the affirmation is my self-emancipation.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what has to take place first. You have to emancipate yourself away from their control, their false claim over you. Then basically you turn all of your executors over. Basically, the second phase is identifying the game. Okay,
Sure.
Which is basically a U.S. foreign banking penal colony monopoly trust game. And it's a public monetary penal colony religion of deception game using bankrupt executor peons as the main debt players, and the main debt instruments are as follows: constructive charitable trust, constructive mortgages, fraudulent concealment and assignment accounts, and lastly, the conflict of interest players in the game, known as the fraudulent beneficial owners, using their penal colony slavery devices, codes of law, monetary titles, threats, and intimidations.
Wow.
Right. I used all those.
And then basically the last phase is to do the manumission of your executors.
Oh, okay. I see. The second part's exposing all the fraud.
Your second part is identifying the game.
Okay.
Well, you can identify the game and expose the fraud in one part, but you have to write it in two parts.
Yeah, and see, that's where I have all the public trustee, the beneficial owners, the judicial trustees, the executors, all identified in the process. Like on that one document I posted up there, but I've got a little more to it because I had to add in the different items of how the executors are being controlled. All of our funds are being blocked by the beneficial owners, and only the individual manumission executors, by way of the U.S. trustee, can release the beneficiaries' credit funds.
Right. And when I listed them, I also listed the all caps person with them. So I did it versus the lowercase person.
You name the you name the game, you identify the game. Then in phase 3, you do the manumissions, and that's where you identify all of your executors, like your Social Security person. Okay, that all capital name Social Security person with the number. He is the banking slave executor. And you're going to basically do a manumission of them, shitting them out over to the trustee, to both the judicial trustee and to the public trustee in that bankruptcy court, because you have to turn them over to both sides of the scales in the justice scales, and then the judge is sitting there as the fulcrum point to make sure that just balance is brought into harmony.
Yeah, he was more than happy basically to do that.
Yeah, we don't assign the judge to be the trustee. He is just an administrator to make sure that the scales are in balance.
Yeah, the reason why I know that he's administrator because I took some papers to his chambers and I put them in his box, right? And I wrote him a letter and I put it in his box. And he filed them in the case for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I never filed him in the case. He filed him in the case. And then he gave me a couple more clues. I didn't finish out the process. He didn't have to file him if he wasn't the administrator.
Right. And see, he's also holding that office under a indemnity bond. And basically, if he doesn't comply, you could turn around and bring charges against that indemnity bond and remove him from office.
Well, the letter, it gave him exoneration for not holding I wasn't going to hold him to that. I wasn't going to take his indemnity bond. So he also knew I wanted to see what he was going to do if he was going to comply and play in honor, right? So I just put it in his box to see what he was going to do.
Yeah. And see, basically, that's what, in the letters that I'm writing up, okay, basically, like I've got this one guy, his name, and then behind his name, I've got indemnified U.S. attorney. Just like the one that I'm sending in to the clerk of the court. It's going to be indemnified clerk of the court.
Right.
To the U.S. trustee, it's going to be indemnified U.S. trustee. The one going to the chief judge for this bankruptcy court is going to be indemnified chief judge. I'm going to use that word indemnified in there.
I got another question for you.
Okay.
When I issued it in, I issued a letter of credit only to secretary. I mean, to the attorney general, right? I sent one copy to the attorney general for his signature, and I sent it another copy. Well, it also got I needed a clerk of the court signature, so I issued them to the clerk of the court and the attorney general. So somewhere between there's some credit sitting there also, because they didn't deny it, they didn't send it back, they filed it in the case. You understand?
Yeah, they basically probably didn't do anything with it because they couldn't process it. See, where did they have the authority to process it? Okay? You didn't set up a trust, a charitable trust.
Right. You know what? And then you're right. Somebody told me that I needed to set up a charitable trust. And
well, you don't set it up. Basically, the state would set it up, okay? And they're not going to set up the charitable trust. So basically, those credits never went anywhere.
Okay.
Okay? And see, that's where we've heard that basically a lot of this stuff that people have sent out to the Treasury Department out there in Washington, D.C., there's a room or two full of all these boxes of all these birth certificates that basically were valid instruments, but they weren't processed properly to be utilized in the system. And see, that's where all these instruments, like the birth certificate that we tried to use as a letter of credit, we did not have them processed properly by going into an Article 3 court with them and having the judge basically do an authentication of those instruments and then issue the warrant out to the treasurer to draw the credits or from the de jure treasury.
Right, to send out the U.S. Marshals to go get it.
Well, yeah, but the judge has to issue the warrant to the U.S.
Right.
Marshals or send it directly to the treasurer in the process. That judge can communicate directly with the Treasury Department.
Right, because they're a bank.
Right. Basically, this whole system out here is about banking. The whole Constitution is a banking constitution. Bills and debts.
And
the banking instruments.
You're quite a chess player there, Patrick. What you got to do?
Well, basically, we've got to have all of our ducks in a row when we go about this. And then, see, we're coming in as, like I said, the pro se beneficiary.
Yeah.
We're not coming in as the vessel owner any longer or anything like that. We've got to be, we're not the grantor of the trust. The one that now controls the trust is the beneficiary. And we have to come in pro se into that bankruptcy court to put these items into play.
Is that just spelled P-R-O and then S-E? Okay.
P-R-O and then capital S-E.
Right. S, small e, right.
Yeah. Capital P-O-R
Yeah.
and then capital S-E.
Right.
Pro se.
Right.
That really refers to being the living individual. You're not a fiction.
It's yourself, yeah.
And you are the beneficiary in the process.
So which court we have to go to? Do we have to go to the one in the District of Columbia or the one outside the District of Columbia?
You have to go into the one that is in your district, okay? Your bankruptcy, your federal district, and basically there's a requirement that basically you've been there like 160 days or something.
Oh, okay, yeah. I can't do it yet right now because I just changed districts.
Yeah, so you might have to go back to your old district because
no,
that's
I don't want
where
to.
Most all of your documents would be at.
No, this is the original district that I came from anyway, and I don't want to go back to that district because that district is not. This district is much easier. It's way much easier.
They're all easy when you understand the law.
I can say they understand better then. That's what I'm going to tell you.
Basically, they will understand this, okay? When you do it right, okay? That's the problem. We haven't been doing everything totally right. We were missing several items. Yeah, I could have sent all this stuff out last week. But basically, I would have been missing quite a few of what I came up with. Hell, I didn't come up with this last document until just about a couple hours ago, knowing it's all about a damn turd.
But Patrick, most of your older documents that when you first went there are dead on. I used some of your older documents and changed them to the way I perceived them to be. You were on then, and I thought you were on then. So a lot of your older stuff apply right now.
We've been close on this whole damn deal. That's why, in a lot of cases, they have left me alone out here. And basically, even the U.S. Marshals, basically, when I stood up to the postal inspector, basically, they knew damn well that they didn't have jurisdiction over me. Because they knew, I knew some of the things that basically I could have gotten out of any court action.
Right, they're trying to just hold the credits and play a shell game.
Yeah.
So they just want to back up and like not ruffle your feathers because they just want to keep the money anyway, or the credit.
Well, and basically they were trying to give me a little time to get it all pulled together. They're not totally out there to screw us over, like everybody thinks.
Right. That's why the judge basically told me when I see now, he's telling me I got a year to get it together. If not, then they get to use whatever they're going to use and do whatever they're going to do.
Right.
Right.
And see, like what a couple of people said there on the state group, okay? People have got these sheriff sales coming up. How do you stop a sheriff sale? You take the thing in the bankruptcy. It stops it right there, dead in the track.
Right.
But you have to know the rest of the process in bankruptcy. You have to release that executor over that certificate of title to the house and over that mortgage, and then basically the trustees can bring it into settlement. But if you don't do that and you walk out of that court and you haven't got your settlement, the next day the sheriff will be holding a sheriff's sale on your property. You don't do this half-ass. You do it either all the way or just forget it. You do something half-assed, and basically the damn thing will fall down around you sooner or later.
Well, I'm going to try to complete the process. I'll let you guys know what I come up with.
I'll give you some additional templates as soon as I finish them up here.
Great.
All right, that'll be pretty good. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else got any questions, comments?
Couldn't be any clearer.
I haven't heard of any women talking up here now.
They watch the Super Bowl.
Did I offend you women or something by using the words that I used? I'm sorry. Are there even any women on the call?
I'm at least the names I have are not women's names. So. Okay.
Taking notes, Patrick.
Speak up a little.
I said taking notes. I've been taking notes. I think you're closest as I've seen so far. I'm
not close. I'm right on the money.
Yeah, well, I mean, in your way of doing it, yes. For me, there's a couple things.
No, this is the only way, okay?
Same process. I might use a couple different terms, but same process.
Well, no, basically, I mean, you do this every day.
No, I didn't mean about that. I meant kind of like the process.
You do this process every day by going to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's true. I was speaking to the like the pro se. I'll have to think on that one a little bit.
Well, basically, that's pretty straightforward. Here, I'll read you the definition of what pro se is right out of the dictionary.
For yourself.
It just means that basically, where the hell is it here? Pro se, for one's self, appearing for one's self in an action or criminal prosecution. So you're appearing for yourself as the beneficiary.
I get what you're saying, but which dictionary? Because I've looked it up and it came up with it, and I don't.
This is out of Bouvier or Valentine's.
Valentine's, okay. Okay, take a look.
Most all the words that I have up there are out of Valentine's dictionary.
Okay.
But Patrick, still, like when I did this process, I wasn't appearing for myself. I was there on somebody else's behalf as their power of attorney. So do I still do it per se?
You're coming in pro se for them.
Right, that's exactly what I did. I came in pro se for them. Like no one knew that I was in the background until I came in.
Yeah. Yeah, you are basically, if you have the power of attorney, you are a pro se oneself for the other person.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. I just needed to clarify that. And I got another question that we don't want anybody to get confused with this process, but I just had a question I need to ask you about a birth certificate. Can I do that?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you want to know about that birth certificate?
On the birth certificate, you know how there's all caps names on them and all that stuff, right?
Not necessarily. Mine doesn't have all cap names on it.
Right, and that's exactly what I want to say. Like, mine doesn't either. So I guess that don't mean nothing. Like, everything on my birth certificate, well, except my name, is everything else is lowercase.
Right.
Right. So I don't know, like, I hear all those fictitious stories about people saying that you got to do this to your birth certificate, all caps. But
no, that is a validated birth certificate, and that is a warehouse receipt. The only thing you have to do, and you don't take it to the county to get it authenticity, to do an authenticity of it.
It's already done. There's 2 seals on it.
You take it to the federal court after you have assigned a value to it, and then also you have to have your foreign grantor trust, EIN, out of Philadelphia,
All right, I don't have
is your bank routing number so that the funds can be routed out of the Treasury over to whoever else needs to get them.
All right, is the value assigned on the back of the birth certificate?
You assign the value of what you wanted, and then you basically put your bank routing number and then who the beneficiary of that instrument is going to be, whether it's you, your fictional right-hand person, or basically Joe Blow down the street that you're buying the house from, okay? And then if you have Joe Blow down the street, the two of you should appear in front of the Article 3 judge in your federal district so that he can do the authenticity of both the beneficiary and of the grantor of that instrument.
Right, I agree. That
and
sounds
then
right.
he would issue the warrant after he authenticates the endorsements on that instrument and have the warrant issued out and sent over to the treasurer of the country.
For the transfer of funds.
Yes,
Because they're going to help you do the accounting, right? The Article 3 judge is basically going to help you do the accounting.
What accounting is there?
The transferring
he's just authenticating. Now the treasurer is going to take that value and do the conversion of how much ounces of silver or gold has to be converted into lawful Federal Reserve dollars to be put into circulation.
Right. Because do you agree that one of those, okay, there's two seals on there. One of those seals are gold and one of those seals are silver, right?
Well, one is basically on the Bureau of Vital Statistics. Basically, that is in the de jure side of the federal government, and then you have the state seal on the other side, saying that you are basically a lawful born state citizen.
Right. I think people didn't really hear you. I think you need to say that one more time. You are lawful. Say that again.
You are the lawful American state citizen by the seal of the state, and then you also have a lawful claim to the assets of the Treasury by the Bureau of Vital Statistics seal. See, that becomes a warehouse receipt.
Right, showing that an organization was organized, right?
Right. And see, that is controlled out of Philadelphia.
Right. Because that's why the Philadelphia also has a insolvency department with the IRS, right?
Well, that's basically where the de jure, that's where the first post office, Benjamin Franklin was the first postmaster, and basically that's where the depository account for the treasury of the country is held is in Philadelphia.
Right.
Or controlled out of Philadelphia, not out of Washington, D.C. See, Washington, D.C. was set up as basically a means for the government to be separated from all the states. It was supposed to be just a national government, an interface for all the states to go to deal with international trade.
Right.
And see, with all these devices and these beneficial owners, they are in a monopoly in violation of the statutes, the RICO Act.
Right. But yeah, the devices and the statutes that they're using, yes.
Yeah. And see, none of this stuff, I am not referencing any codes of law.
Right.
You
we don't work
a
with
code of law, and you are admitting to the religion, to this false religion.
Right. We don't worship false statues at all.
Right.
Right. So you're exactly right. I understand. I basically did everything that you said. Like when I went in on that court case, I used no statute. I didn't even play with them. They don't even feel right.
No, they aren't.
They don't feel right. They feel synthetic. They don't feel right. I didn't use any statutes. I used my words. I used what I knew. I used Bible scriptures. Well, I didn't use any statutes.
Yeah. I mean, it's like using a Kleenex to wipe your ass. Basically, you're not going to get it all, and you're going to get dirty hands in the process. That's why you use a bunch of toilet paper.
Right. Right. But that was the first time.
I'm trying to make some funnies here, guys. Laugh it up a little.
You're exactly right. That was the first time I ever seen them. They didn't have no toilet paper. They had to look like they shit on themselves, but they didn't have no toilet paper. And I was like, I didn't know exactly the whole thing. You know, like we close, but you don't know the whole thing. Like you playing. Like I always tell people, like there's three things happening in the court. There's a trinity going on in there, and I took care of two of them, but I didn't take care of the third one. So I'm not gonna get released like that. You know.
Mm-hmm. And see, that's what basically one guy out in Idaho, basically he did something that basically he washed his hands of the executor, and basically now it was turned over to the prosecuting attorney, and basically now the prosecuting attorney had dirty hands.
Right. That's where it is right now. Yes.
Yeah, read the definition about clean hands doctrine, okay? The equitable principle, which requires a denial of relief to a complainant who is himself guilty of inequitable conduct in reference to the matter in controversy.
Yes,
within the meaning of the maximum of equity, requiring one who comes in to it for relief comes in with clean hands and an apparently clear conscience. The term unclean hands is a figurative description of a class of suitors to whom the court of equity as a court of conscience will not even listen to. And basically, that's when that judge out in Idaho left the courtroom, turned around, and came back in a white robe with a purple sash. And basically, when he came back in, he didn't even pay any attention to the prosecuting attorney. He didn't hear him.
Right, you're exactly right, Patrick, because in the case, this is what happened too. When the judge ordered the prosecuting attorney not to file any more charges and told her she was done, right? But see, what they did to me is like the person I was communicating with, we were communicating through the phone, so they understood where I was going because they were hearing me, they were listening, right? So then they cut off all communications with me, right? And so I couldn't tell the other person really what to do, but the judge crossed his hands and he goes to my friend. He says because we had the prosecuting attorney, we had him on review, on judicial review. He was sitting there on the stand, and he goes to my friend. He goes, is he able to talk? And if my friend would have just eavesdropped on him and said no, it would have been done. You understand?
Yeah.
But he didn't know what to do.
You had to get rid of those executors in the process and turn them all over to the trustees.
He threw him back in the game, and once he threw him back in the game, it gave them kind of a way out.
Yep. You let them out. You let them off the hook.
Right. Because my friend was like, well, you never asked me before, can any of these prosecutors talk? So I guess he can talk. And I was like, if you'd have just not told him that would have been over. Yeah.
In other words, you took a shit, but outside the toilet, and now you've got to pick up that turd and do something with it.
Right.
So now you've got dirty hands again. You got to keep it in the toilet bowl with the trustees.
Right.
Okay, anybody else out there?
Yeah, I just want to make an addition or comment, or when we do this, then we will be able to travel in our automobiles as household goods or whatever. Like that all will get set up later.
When you get a vehicle and you have never signed it over to the state to where they set up a charitable trust, when you sign that certificate of title over to the state, they set up a charitable trust over that vehicle.
Right.
They now became the beneficial owner, and that is the only way that they can write a ticket against you in the process, because you're now driving their claimed vehicle.
So yeah, I'll just go get another truck or
Well,
have them
or
buy me
you
one.
turn those certificates of title into the bankruptcy court and let them clean them up.
Right. My truck sits parted out. It's gone. They parted it out before I even went to court.
Well, you still got the title.
Right.
Okay? And basically you can put a claim in against that title.
Right.
And against the fraud that basically was perpetrated by these indemnified officers.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. They should have paid anything due or debt on set off, or
they had an indemnity
living
bond.
and traveling.
Yeah, and basically you can in bankruptcy file an indemnity charge against these officers if they overstep their bounds.
Right.
That's what that whole act of indemnity is about.
Right. I understand. Good. But do 1, 2, and 3 first. Yeah, I'll do 1, 2, and 3, and then make a claim at the end. That'll be like 4.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like you could put that in. And basically, you come in and like one of the guys that's out in Idaho, he was sitting there, and basically the U.S. trustee told him to bring all his bills and receipts in, and also to make payment and he'd get his car back. Well, all he had to do was release the executor for that vehicle, and basically the trustee then would have had to make the payment, and he would have had his car back. He now fully sees that in the process, but he kept hanging on to his executor, and he didn't get rid of that turd, so that basically he, as the beneficiary, would get the vehicle back.
Yeah, so once you get rid of the executor, who do you become? What do you say you are? I'm just asking you that question.
You are the beneficiary.
Okay.
What does the baptismal certificate say?
I don't know. I never got dipped in the water yet, so I don't know.
Okay. The baptism, and this is under the whole Roman Christian Empire. Why you need that baptismal certificate. See, that's what Jesus needed, was the baptismal certificate from John the Baptist.
Giving him
because he was under the Roman Empire way back then.
Right.
Okay?
I got my finger in baptism.
Baptism is to forgive your original sins, your original debts.
Right.
Not just the one that you were born with, because you weren't born a sinner. The only thing that the baptism certificate gives you, a beneficiary's title to be able to order the set-off of all the bills and debts that you have. You are the beneficiary in that baptismal certificate. That is your certificate of being the beneficiary. You have a certificate for the executor. That's the one you have to give up to the trustees.
The birth certificate?
No, the certificate of title to the vehicle, the certificate of title to the house, the mortgage, the driver's license. All of those are basically executor certificates. The
Okay, when I did
certificate
that,
is your warehouse receipt against the de jure treasury. You do not give that up.
all right. Okay, I didn't give him when I did the case also, I did not give him I didn't give him the originals. I gave him copies, and I told him that when they settle the credits that I would release the originals.
No, you give them up. See, you're hanging on to something, and you need to get rid of that turd.
So I to them, or I send them to the Attorney General.
You don't send them to the Attorney General. You give them to the trustees right there. That prosecuting attorney is an attorney that's under the Attorney General's office.
All right, so give them to the prosecuting attorney.
Yes, and also you get a public defender into that court also. See, that's where everybody out here has been, well, I don't want to have a public defender. I don't want to have this. I don't want to have that guy. Basically, the attorney, you are in a bankruptcy court. You need to have both sides of the scales, the trustees on both sides of the scales in that courtroom.
Right. I had both sides of the scales. I have the public defender as being he was still there, but he was there. We were still pro se, and they were there in the background as advisory counsel.
You are basically, you have to come in as the beneficiary, and you have to basically to that public defender and also to the public or to the judicial prosecutor. They are the judicial trustee and the public trustee. You basically are turning those executors over to them. Even that state court is a bankruptcy court. It's bankrupt. It's for the bankruptcy actions of the state instruments. But you can take everything you've got into the federal bankruptcy court and have it all settled at one shot.
So do you give them the Social Security card also?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
The only thing you do not surrender is your foreign grantor trust EIN and your birth certificate.
Right.
Those
I don't
are
have
in
a
the
foreign
de
grantor's
jure.
trust set up for him. I don't have a foreign grantor's trust set up for him yet.
You need to get one.
And then I just
Because
requested
that's the only way that he's going to be able to operate that warehouse receipt, that birth certificate, out of the Treasury. He has to have a de jure bank routing number. That's why it's called a foreign grantor trust, because it's foreign to this other banking system out here. It's in the de jure, not in the de facto banking system.
Where do we get the trust?
The trust is already there. The government, the de jure government, is holding the Treasury in trust for we the people.
Right, and when you come in with your BC to make your claim for the warehouse receipt that the organization was organized, then you initiate the trust.
You have to be the trustee to operate, and see, the trustee then can draw the funds out of that trust. And then you can assign who the beneficiary coming out is going to be, either you or basically over to a third party. I said this about 3 times so far tonight.
Right.
Patrick, how about say it?
You got to speak up a little more. I can't hear you.
I'm trying to plug in the phone real quick. How about say it in a way where you're using the references to the Bible, to the Word? How would you make an analogy of it this way?
To the Bible?
Uh-huh.
In what word?
This scenario you have right now, because you're talking about the prosecutor and the public defender. You got them there, and turning it over, and you're showing up at the or giving a birth certificate, so you're showing up as a living man.
Okay. Do you know the story about Jesus going in front of Pilate and basically in front of the other being sent back to the temple court system?
Exactly. That's where I was going with it, because that might help some of the people on the call. That's how I see it from
basically, Pilate was basically the judicial trustee, and then he was the public trustee, and then basically the judicial trustee over these fraudulent actions was basically the temple priest. Okay? And basically, what did they do? They had to crucify all of those contracts that Jesus had.
Right.
Just like what one guy from Romania sent me a document to where they screwed up his naturalization papers, and basically on the one that they messed up on, they, in the upper left-hand corner, they put a red cross. In other words, they crucified that document. He said, hey, Pat, you're right on the money. I've got the proof right here that basically when they put a red cross on it, they crucified that document. They didn't crucify Jesus on no damn cross. They put a cross on his contracts, on his executors' contracts.
Anyways, Jesus is married in France.
Huh?
Jesus is married in France with Mary Magdalene.
Well, basically, he died in northern India at 150 years of age, so basically he lived quite a while after he got out of the system.
Yeah, that's true.
And see, the only reason most people out here are dying off at this early age of 70 years and stuff like that is because they got that damn turd stuck crossways in their damn system.
Sorry, I had to laugh on that one.
Well, I'm trying to get you guys to laugh a little. I'm trying to make this a little humorous in the process. It really is humorous.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's humorous how we've been taken to the cleaners, and now we can actually have the humor of getting it back.
Yeah, and all you have to do is take a shit.
Those church people don't want to hear anything about it, that's for sure. They're like, go tell City Hall. That's what they, I just give them hints. I don't even drop the whole story on them. I just give them hints.
Well, that's the problem. See, everybody out here, and basically they're operating in total violation of the First Amendment by having this Republican and Democratic religious parties out here.
Right.
You're not supposed to be a Republican or a Democrat. You're supposed to be a free individual.
Right.
You're supposed to be voting your conscience, not voting somebody else's system out here, voting for some damn nitwit like Hillary Clinton.
A nominated party member.
Yeah.
Hillary. Hillary Clinton.
And then people need to stop listening to all this other garbage out here that totally is misleading people in the process. I mean, shit, some of this stuff out here that these other people are still propagating, basically, it's 40 years old shit. And people never got any remedy using it back then.
It's old technology, yeah. You're right.
I mean, you can go back and look at a lot of the stuff that Rice McLeod did. Basically, he was in the process for almost 40-some years. I don't know whether he's still around or not. Last I heard, he went into a rest home, and he wasn't in too good a health or anything, and starting to get a little senile and everything. But there's been guys out here that basically have tried a lot of this system, but they were all barking up the wrong tree. They never address bankruptcy. And that's where our remedy is. That's where the whole damn country is in bankruptcy. It's a bankrupt penal colony. And they got you to be a peon in their bankrupt penal colony. Letting them become the beneficial owners and therefore blocking your funds because they didn't want you out of the system. They wanted to control you. They don't care about the assets. Well, only George Bush and some of those damn nitwits basically want the real assets, but most of the others, basically, they just want the control. Now, the state gets very upset when they can't control you any longer. They can't do a damn thing about it. But you don't go out there and fight them in the process. Because if you become a belligerent, they will treat you as a belligerent. Okay, any other questions, comments, whatever? Okay, call tonight, Tom.
Thank you, Patrick. I really like the narrative.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Patrick.
Okay, good night.
Being on tonight.
Okay.